Hello and welcome to Nobody Immune series of Warcraft history, where we discuss the lore of the Warcraft universe and the edited lore that was changed for the World of Warcraft game by Blizzard. FYI, there is a new Facebook page that is up and running. If you would like to contribute to spreading the word around, please go like that page. There's a link in the About box. I will be posting all videos and information there as well. You can share it with your friends, families, or any other social networking site. It would be greatly appreciated and a really big help for me. Today's episode is on the dragon aspects and their charge to both protect and watch over the world. In my previous videos, we have briefly mentioned the dragons and their charge, but today we're going to explore this to its fullest. Originally, according to the Warcraft RPG, the dragons and their great aspects were terrifying and incredibly powerful creatures. The aspects all had different approaches to their fights. Whereas some ruled as kings or queens, some saw each other as equals with their flight members, and others demanded worship entirely as a god. The flights would wage wars on each other as well from time to time, though this is only mentioned and not really explored in great detail, and many flights were stretched out across the whole world of Azeroth. You had kind of like family pockets originally, known as broods, with the elder of that brood being its leader. And they would raid and pillage villages and towns, etc., sweeping down, picking up the sheep and flying off. And they lived in vast different areas. They didn't really have any kind of allegiance to anything other than its own family pocket, or its brood. Blizzard would change this, though, some for good, some for worse. They changed it by making the dragons more of a unified collection of flights, flights being short for dragon flights for those of you unaware, whereas all the flights were united under that particular dragon flight's color, and with a massive aspect or worm as its leader. Originally, it wasn't really explained how the dragons or their aspects got their incredible power. It was always assumed to be an anomaly from nature. However, Blizzard throughout the years would expand on this and explain that the dragons were charged by the Titans as the protectors of their world and given their incredible power by them. So let's begin. Satisfied that the small world had been ordered and that their work was done, the Titans prepared to leave Azeroth. However, before they departed, they charged the greatest species of the world, the dragonflights, with the task of watching over Kalimdor, lest any force should threaten its perfect tranquility. There were many dragonflights in that age, yet there were 5 flights that held dominion over their brethren. It was these 5 flights that the Titans chose to shepherd the budding world. The greatest members of the Pantheon imbued a portion of their power upon each of the flight's leaders. These majestic dragons, as listed below, became known as the Great Aspects, or the Dragon Aspects. Amonthul, the High Father of the Pantheon, bestowed a portion of his cosmic power upon the massive bronze dragon Nostormu. The High Father empowered Nostormu to guard time itself and police the ever-spinning pathways of fate and destiny. The stoic, honorable Nostormu became known as the Timeless One. Aenar, the Titan patron of all life, gave a portion of her power to the Red Leviathan, Alexstrasza. Ever after, Alexstrasza would be known as the Life Binder, and she would work to safeguard all living creatures within the world. Due to her supreme wisdom and limitless compassion for all living things, Alexstrasza was crowned the Dragon Queen and given dominion over her kind. Now, it is assumed that it's referring to all of dragonkind and not just the red dragonflight. Aenar also blessed Alexstrasza's younger sister, the lithe green dragon Ursura, with a portion of nature's influence. Ursura fell into an eternal trance, bound to the waking dream of creation. Known as the Dreamer, she would watch over the growing wilds of the world from her verdant realm, the Emerald Dream. Norgannon, the Titan lorekeeper and master magician granted the blue dragon, Malagos, a portion of his vast power. From then on, Malagos would be known as the Spellweaver, the guardian of magic and hidden arcanum. Khaz'garath, the Titan shaper and forger of the world, bestowed some of his vast power upon the mighty black worm Neltharion. The great-hearted Neltharion, known afterwards as the Earth Warder, was given dominion over the earth and the deep places of the world. He embodied the strength of the world and served as Alexstrasza's greatest supporter. Thus empowered, the 5 aspects were charged with the world's defense and the Titan's absence. With the dragons prepared to safeguard their creation, the Titans left Azeroth behind forever. Unfortunately, it was only a matter of time before Sargeras learned of the newborn world's existence. That passage can be found in History of Warcraft Chapter 1 under the charge of the Dragonflights, and it occurred roughly between 25,000 through 64,000 years prior to the opening of the Dark Portal. The following is found in Warcraft RPG Shadow and Light on page 67. Under the Dragon Aspects. Long ago charged by the Titans to watch over the world, the Dragon Aspects have seen and participated in nearly all the great events of Azeroth's history. The Aspects, however, act in the world only when necessary. Otherwise, they stay mostly removed from the mundane turning of days and seasons, focusing instead on leading their respective dragon flights. Although silent for some time now, Deathwing may again attempt to seize power and sow chaos upon Azeroth. Yet, as before, the other aspects will rise to challenge him and preserve the world once more. This final passage is found in Warcraft RPG Manual of Monsters on page 27. Under Dragons of Azeroth. Azeroth is a world divided by many factions. Throughout its history, it has been threatened by plague, battle, and strife. But to some creatures that make their home in this land, such paltry concerns do not require serious attention. Some creatures wield power that rivals any great army, and that could overthrow any king. These mighty creatures are not rightly called beasts, but instead hold titles of their own. They rule over their flights like tyrants on thrones. Their names are spoken in whispers, but their children roam the land in search of food, ensuring that no one forgets the true masters of the deep wilderness, the Dragons of Azeroth. Dragons group in 5 dragonflights that claim ancestry to the greatest of their kind. Each color is proud of its heritage and lineage, and remembers the names of all those who have gone before. These flights are further separated into small family groups known as broods. Each occupies and holds territory within Azeroth's less populated areas. Some are commonly seen, others have nearly been driven to extinction by wars among their own kind. The Dragons of Azeroth are far more intelligent even than the humans who hunt them. They struggle to reconcile their metaphysical nature with the reality of the savage world they inhabit. While each dragon is a powerful entity, dragons also represent the origins of the world and were given care over various parts of Azeroth's creation since time immemorial. Today, the dragons still remember their original natures and attempt to use their powers to continue their original purposes. For some, to shape stone and raise mountains, for others, to protect the forests, or expand the realm of magic. The 5 great dragonflights are identified by their coloration: black, blue, bronze, green, and red. Other types of dragons, such as those described in the MM, do not exist upon Azeroth. Each of these 5 flights keeps secrets of its own and adheres to separate ideologies from the rest. They are led by powerful entities known as aspects, one from each color, who rule over their flights as powerful gods, looking down on their less fortunate descendants. The various flights are identified here, with details of their respective powers, ideologies, and abilities. For the most part, all dragons are of the same species, with similar bone structures, anatomy, and physical capacity. Each flight, however, is distinct with different goals, interests, and ideals. The cautious traveler remembers the ancient words spoken by one of Azeroth's most powerful mages. Let sleeping dragons lie. Dragons of Azeroth reach their full growth before a mere 100 years have passed. They are very cunning and magical, using spells to complement their powerful physical capacity. Because each creature has an intimate connection with the world around it, the death of a dragon is never a simple thing. It is a metaphysical event, driven by the creature's natural connection to the spirit of the world. A dragon's death can cause massive upheaval in the natural surroundings. Earthquakes, surface lava explosions, a new lake flooding forth from a sudden crack in the Earth's crust, and so on. Even young dragons, those who have not established as close a bond to the spiritual world, still make ripples in the fabric of reality when they die. Although these ripples are not always seen or felt by other races, a young dragon's death nonetheless garners the attention of other dragons in the area, and creatures particularly attuned to the natural state of being that surround them. So yeah, it's pretty clear here that there are some major changes in regards to the dragons of the Warcraft universe. So, the dragon aspects, also known as the Great Aspects, or simply just as the Aspects, are the leaders of 5 very powerful and influential dragon flights. According to official sources, they were once proto-drakes, but were altered by the Titans as a reward for defeating the massive proto-drake known as Galakrond, and for their suspected aid against the old gods, though that is unconfirmed. The Titans empowered the 5 dragons, each with a very unique and specific power, to be the leaders of their own dragon flights, as well as their flights being the major dragon flights out of their kind. They were also charged with watching over ancient Kalimdor and the progress over the centuries of the life that would come to inhabit its lands. Now, Galakrond was a massive proto-dragon, and the progenitor of dragonkind. From him, the Titans created all the aspects. His size alone was greater than all the aspects combined, and was the largest recorded size of all of draconic kind in the history of the Warcraft universe. He was said to be extremely evil and attempted to destroy the other proto-drakes, forcing the many dragonflights that were led by red, blue, green, black, and bronze to unite to defeat him. The leaders of each color of the proto-drakes became known as the Dragon Aspects. In the novel Dawn of the Aspects, it is explained that Galakrond gained his incredible size from constantly consuming prey. With the numbers of prey dwindling down to but a handful and with his insatiable appetite ever still growing, he eventually began to hunt down and eat his fellow proto-dragons and draconic family members. The cannibalization of his own kind corrupted Galakrond's essence, distorting his body and increasing his already immense size. So insidious was this corruption that those proto-dragons he did consume would eventually rise as undead horrors that then hunted and terrorized the fleeting proto-dragon population as well. All proto-dragon kind would eventually bound together against Galakrond, and was nearly wiped out for their efforts as the tainted monstrosity proved way too powerful for all of them. It was at this time the Keepers, servants of the Titans, chose to aid the more cognitively aware and intelligent proto-dragons. Malagos, Neltharion, Alexstrasza, Ursura, and Nostormu, against Galakrond, in hopes of preserving Azeroth's future. The 5 future aspects, utilizing their superior intelligence and combined cunning, were successful in defeating Galakrond and saving the world. Seeing the willingness of the proto-dragons to sacrifice themselves to protect their world, the Keepers offered the 5 proto-dragons the opportunity to become even greater, and to devote their very existence to the continued protection of their world. All 5 accepted, and their new rules as the dragon aspects were given, and thus the 5 dragonflights were born. That right there alone shows some inconsistencies on how the dragons became the dragon aspects, and the origins of their dragon flights. You have these Keepers empowering them as a reward for defeating Galakrond, and to be guardians of the world. And then you have originally the Titans empowering them, to protect the world in their absence before they left. I personally found this section of the Warcraft history, though, to be rather interesting and full of mystery and your own imagination. We are to essentially believe at first that the current dragon aspects were not always the leaders of their flights, but simply the heirs or rulers the flights have now in the present. This I think was really interesting because it gave way for so much potential and rich history for the dragons in the Warcraft universe. However, Blizzard would later change this as well to make the dragon aspects the supreme and ultimate rulers of their flights from the time the flights were first created. I found this to be alright, though I think they would have had a lot more they could expand on if they had gone with their original concept in the RPG. I think that would have had a lot more of possible lore, new history, a lot of extra things that would have added to the history and story of Warcraft overall. It would have really have helped in a lot of different things and very interesting to see. But Blizzard didn't want to go that way. One thing Blizzard changed, and I think it was for the better, was creating more dragonflights. This part is always confusing though, and there are debates ranging all over with this, from what is considered a dragonflight to other flights being branches of currently existing ones. As we read in the RPG, there were only 5 flights originally: red, green, blue, bronze, and black, and no other flights existed at all. However, later on, and especially in WoW, we do see more flights. But it's not known if they have their own aspects or worms leading these flights, or if they are new creations altogether, or if they are, as stated, branches of currently existing ones. I myself personally think Nosdormu's flight should have been white instead of bronze, but, that's just me. I just find white to be more ancient, wise, old, and pure in that sort of regard, whereas I find bronze to be more affiliated with wealth, power, influence, and conspiracies and such. But, again, that's just my own personal opinion on the matter. Now, one thing Blizzard did, which I thought was pretty lame in WoW, was making all the dragons look the same. They have the same pineapple tails, same faces, same movements, etc. When it is stated in the lore they had similar bone structures, but under their individual flights lore, it talks about how each flight was unique in appearance and different from the rest. Each flight also had its own history, ideologies, and customs. I thought when they did this in WoW, it took away a lot of the uniqueness of the dragons and did more damage than good, simply over laziness and lack of creativity. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of artists out there that would have loved to come up with designs for the dragons. You'll learn more about the different appearances of the dragons later on. In all honesty, there's just so much information regarding all the flights and the dragons, I couldn't fit it all into one video even if I wanted to. And it's not really a part of this section of the Warcraft history, but it's in their own flights history. So if you're interested in learning about the different flights, stay tuned for upcoming videos on them. Another thing which I think is understandable, but at the same time harmful, was making the dragons passive, or accepting of mortal beings. Originally, they were incredibly immense, powerful, and intelligent, but still aggressive monsters. The mortals feared them, and they hunted them. Dragons pillaged and destroyed towns. Blizzard tried to keep part of this, but they changed most of it by making the dragons more introverted and separated from the mortal races. Which, like I said, it's understandable, but at the same time, there's a part of me that still likes to see dragons behave as a typical dragon would. So the dragon aspects are the leaders of the 5 main and most powerful dragon flights. They are more or less the leaders of the dragon race, though originally they were just the leaders of their own flights. As already stated, stay tuned for upcoming videos on each of those flights. I will be doing a unique and special video about each flight all on its own. So that's it for today. Basically, all this is really about is the Titans empowered the dragon aspects and flights to protect the world of Azeroth from outside forces and threats during their absence. And that's really all there is on it, at least regarding this part of the Warcraft history. There's not much more than that. So this concludes the charge of the dragon flights. Thank you for watching today's episode. If you want to see more episodes and comparisons, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to message me. Until next time, I will see you on the next episode.